This is the China Hollywood Greenlight Podcast, episode number 26.
And rolling sound. Quiet.
Here we go. Ready.
Speeding. 120, take 7.
And action.
This is Karen McCann, the host of the China Hollywood Greenlight Podcast, a podcast about creating and distributing content for both Hollywood and China. If you like the show, please go to iTunes, subscribe, and leave a rating so other people can find this podcast. The more we work together, the more opportunities will be out there for everyone. And links mentioned in the podcast can be found in the show notes at chinahollywoodgreenlight.com/podcast, and look for this episode, which is number 26. Before I introduce today's guest, I'd like to start out with a motivational quote to encourage our listeners to continue on their path to achieving their own green light. And today's quote is from Winston Churchill, and he said, "Success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm." Today's guest is producer Alan Noel Vega. His company, AMG Films, is a registered official Chinese co-production entity, and he has some great war stories. He talks about a Jet Li film he line produced where his prop guy in the middle of the film was arrested for bank robbery. No kidding. But before we delve into that, a few quick words on what I'm working on. As you may know, I'm about to launch a membership website called the China List. It will foster collaboration between China and Hollywood. Our launch date will be June 1st, 2020. Yes, you heard it here first. The first stage is going to be a screenplay database. Producers and talent agents will have free membership. And if writers sign up before May 15th, 2020, they can take advantage of our free membership promotion. And writers, don't worry if your script isn't a, quote, co-pro. If your script has a role for a Chinese actor or perhaps some Chinese element, there's a good chance you could attract a Chinese producer or financier. Some Chinese financiers invest in Western films, and it doesn't matter if your script could qualify as a co-pro or not. You might even attract a Western producer or financier that is keen to work with China. Just go to my website, chinahollywoodgreenlight.com, and look for the page called The China List and sign up. And now for the main segment. Here is the interview. Alan Noel Vega has worked in the entertainment industry since 1989, primarily as a producer and a stunt action director. In addition to domestic USA films, he has also worked on movies for international companies such as Wanda Pictures, Emperor Motion Pictures, Fox International Japan, Disney India, and Eros International. Noel has worked with Academy Award-winning directors including Oliver Stone and Catherine Bigelow, as well as Chinese directors including Choi Hak and Sammo Hung. He has also worked with Chinese stars such as Jet Li and Jackie Chan. Noel's company, AMG Films, is a registered official Chinese co-production entity that recently completed USA filming of the pilot for Doolittle's Heroes, Sunset River, for Hunan TV, with executive producers Han Sanping and Jun Zhao. More episodes are in the works for filming in China. He has worked on the #1 reality TV show, Deadliest Warrior, and a #1 scripted network TV show, Martial Law. His diverse entertainment industry experience includes assisting the Shanghai Film Bureau and Shanghai International Film Festival, and he co-founded the Los Angeles Feel Good Film Festival and directed various live multi-camera concerts for China Central Television, CCTV. He is a New York University alumnus in Business and Marketing Management and a member of the Directors Guild of America and the Producers Guild of America. Well, Noel, thank you for coming on the show today.
That is a long bio. We got to shorten that. Hello, everybody.
You have a lot of experience.
Well,
That's a sad thing that comes with age. What can I tell you?
yeah.
Well, I told the audience a little bit about you, but why don't you take a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself personally and your business?
I think they're tired of hearing after they listen to that long bio. But I don't know what else to add. There's a lot of experience that comes with me because that's just the way life has been.
Yay.
Other than that, it is what it is. I think as long as I'm having fun, I'm going to keep working.
There you go. Now you have some Chinese experience. Why did you enter the China Hollywood film / TV market?
Well, I think some people drive or they try to drive life. I think in my case, life drives me.
Mhm.
So I worked my early days as a PA, production assistant, back in the day with Oliver Stone's company. The producer was a Hong Kong guy named Alex Ho.
Oh,
Awesome dude. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but so I was working with Alex, and that's how the Chinese connection happened.
Okay.
It was mostly Hong Kong, and then I'm trying to remember the first Shanghai Film Festival. They made Oliver Stone the lead juror.
oh, okay.
So he's like, "Okay, we're going to China." I'm like, "Okay." So there you go. And then the other juror, one of the other jurors was Tsui Hark. So,
Wow. What perfect timing.
well, I'd already worked with Tsui Hark earlier from the Hong Kong
Oh,
side.
yes, yes. I saw that on your bio on your IMDb page.
You
Now,
live in Hong Kong, right? Yourself?
I did live in Hong Kong. I went to the University of
Ah,
Hong Kong and I worked in the Chinese film business. I also had a bit of a funny job where I helped find stuntmen for Chinese productions. So I think we have a lot in common in these Chinese films.
well, there's a lot of stuntmen in Hong Kong. That was
Yes, exactly. I was very happy to read that you also do stunt action, and you're also a stunt action director among your many other jobs.
well. What's funny? What's funny in Hong Kong is um, foreigners are okay. They welcome the foreigners into the stunt world, but then you die right away. They
Yeah,
kill you off
yeah.
right away.
Yes, it's called The
I'm
Evil
like,
Guilo, and they usually get killed off the first 5 minutes of the movie.
yeah. So I'm like, wait, I'm Asian too. Come on, guys. I'm quarter Chinese. A little more love for the brown brother here.
Now I'd like you to speak about your jobs, I should say. Now there are no 2 days that are the same in your job, but could you tell us 2 or 3 main tasks you do on a quote typical day?
There is no such thing as a typical day.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I work movies, TV, video games. Those are the main three. I prefer movies and video games. TV is okay. If it's episodic TV, I think it's great because it's a longer paycheck.
All right.
Movies are just fun because they're intense.
Yes.
They're intense in the sense that your budget's defined, your schedule's in place. If things go wrong, then you have to be able to fix them quickly or have contingency plans in place. And then video games are just fun. It's just the kid never grows up, which is awesome.
Are
Um,
there producing jobs similar for
well,
movies?
yeah, for me, they're all similar. I've done live events. I did the Latino Film Festival for a couple of years for Eddie Olmos.
Right.
Um, I had, I co-founded with my dear friend Kristen Ridgway the Feel Good Film Festival, and then she sold it off after 5 years. I don't know what happened to it. I've done concerts, like live, concerts wherein we direct the camera. We did, oh God, what was it? It was at the Shrine. The last thing I did was China Superstars. So there were a
Oh,
bunch of,
okay.
yeah, like K-pop, but China. So yeah, it's all the same. Basically, you have a job to do, and you're faced with a different set of circumstances for each, but it's the same one. You put the square in the square hole.
Right.
Put the triangle in the triangle hole.
Right. Well, let's talk about how you find your business partners. How did you find them, and how do you suggest the listeners find perhaps a Chinese producer or a financier?
Um, Specific to China, it would help if you knew some Chinese people first.
Okay.
If you go to China, or you could go to the Shanghai Film Festival, for example, or if you go to entertainment events, you try to meet Chinese people. Chinese people are always going to everything that they can, which is why they account for a lot of the world's travel. But they'll go to, like, for example, they go to NAB, they go to Cinegear, they go to entertainment-related stuff. They'll go to Comic-Con. Or you can go to the events in China, like the Shanghai Film Festival. Beijing has its own. Other cities have their own. You can go to Cannes. You can go, you can't just, basically you have to go out and make friends. You can't just wait for them to contact you because, not everybody has that luck.
Exactly. Well, hopefully, as soon as this COVID-19 is a little bit normalized, we can all do some more traveling.
Yeah.
And it's become a huge obstacle. And on that note, what obstacles did you encounter on a past project? How did you overcome it? And what did you learn?
Well, I was fortunate because the first movie I was a line producer on. Line producer is a producer that actually is the glue. Basically, the producer in this case, Richard Hark, said, "Hey, I got the script. Actually, I don't have a script. This is like the idea. This is how much money we have, and Jet Li is going to star in it. Blah blah blah. Can you do this?" I'm like, "Sure."
Okay.
So anyway, that's the line producer. I'm the one who's responsible for putting together, the project, so to speak. So you asked what my challenges were. I think in that movie, which, like I said, Jet Li's first movie that he ever shot in the United States, everything that could go wrong did.
Oh boy.
So it was one of those things that, Sammo Hung decided, we were looking for Western towns. He wanted to shoot in Texas. I was hoping we'd shoot over Chuck Norris's Dallas Western town, but instead we wound up in the Alamo Village in Bracketville, population 500. But it was the set of the Alamo, John Wayne, and it was an awesome Western town. But anyway, my point was, we shot in Texas because there was a drought, so we were shooting into the winter. Because, as you know, in China, the big release season is Chinese New Year. So we wanted to be cutting by January and released by sometime early February. Actually, we were cutting on set. Shoot, cut, shoot, cut. It's like rush, 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 rush. We had three units going on. So the weekend before we were going to start shooting, there was a deluge.
Oh no.
It rained all weekend.
Oh, no.
And after 7 years of drought, the water tables were back to normal in one weekend.
Oh my.
So basically, all our equipment was stuck in the mud, literally. We could not move physically for 2 weeks until the ground dried.
Oh my gosh.
And in the meantime, I have people in hotels everywhere, the crews everywhere, the actors are, all over around the town. So we were already 2 weeks over budget. We hadn't shot anything.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So it was, like I said, it was pretty challenging. We had immigration problems because we had to bring in a crew from Hong Kong.
Right.
The Mexican border is right there. So there's a lot of border patrol. There was, it was fish and wildlife problems. You're not supposed to try to shoot vultures or much less trap them for a shot.
Oh my gosh.
OSHA was called. I don't know why, because the Hong Kong people, they do a lot of dramatic stunts. Sometimes they get hurt. So the Americans go and call OSHA. Go figure that. So they're hurting themselves. Like, okay. It was really funny because there was a hanging scene towards the end. It was the movie was called Once Upon a Time in China and America, which was, like I said, Jet's first American shoot. There was a hanging scene. 7 people get hung. So OSHA shows up, and they called me over and said, "You cannot use these wires to hang people." I go, "Why not?" And OSHA said, "They're too thin." I go, "Well, they're thin, but then they're pliable, so they balance, right? They have some give." No, you have to use these wires. So they gave me a sample of the wires to use, which were thicker. I told them these are thicker, yeah, but they don't, they have no flex. They'll snap. They go, "Well, do you want to get fined by OSHA or not?"
Oh no.
So I go, "Sure, we'll use your wires." So we were running, we were trying to do quick. So I just told the guys, the prop guys, just change the first 2. And then OSHA said, "Okay, we want to inspect. Okay, look, we got it all. Okay, move, because we got to shoot this." So we did the hanging scene, and the 2 OSHA wires snapped. So the wires we use in Hong Kong were fine. The 2 stunt guys that were hanging by the OSHA wires got hurt.
Oh no.
Because I listened to OSHA, instead of trusting what Hong Kong has done for a long time.
Right.
And then OSHA finds me,
Oh,
or
no.
not me, but the production, because I hurt people.
Oh,
And
no.
you tell me to use your wires, which I said no, but you said you were going to fine me if I didn't. So I use it. It snaps. You hurt my
Right.
people. It's my fault.
Oh, geez.
Well, this is in America. I go, I'm an American too, right? So don't give me the shit. Anyway,
Oh my
moving
gosh.
on. So yeah, I had problems like that. They were just stupid problems. I had actors. It was a Western, so I had actors that said, "Oh yeah, I can ride well," and then we get them there, and they don't know how to ride.
Right.
Like you're supposed to be an Indian chief leading your
All right.
braves into battle. So yeah, it was one of those things. But after that shoot, I took a deep breath and I said, you know what? I can do anything. I faced all the possible problems that I could.
Yes.
It's like every day was like there was a bank robbery not too far away, right?
Right.
And then there was a description of the bank robbers. One of them looked like our prop guy. Our prop guy we brought in from Australia, right? You have to understand, Brackettville, Texas, population 500. We had to bring everything in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like every crew background, there was some background there that we could use, but not a lot. So our prop guy we brought over from Australia. He just finished work with us on Mr. Nice Guy, which was the Jackie Chan movie. So we brought him over to Texas to be the prop guy, help us with props. And he matched the description of bank robber.
Oh my gosh.
Now, this is Hong Kong money, right? So everybody's getting paid in cash. In the US, he was carrying his cash. So he gets stopped because he looks like the bank robber. They see all this cash in him and he gets arrested.
Oh, no.
Say, you're the bank robber.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, the judge in that region became one of my best friends.
Oh, wow.
Because like every other day, I'm like, hey, Your Honor, one of my crew got arrested because he looks like a bank robber. Oh, okay. Hey, Your Honor, Border Patrol picked up a couple of my Hong Kong crew because they said they were working here when they're just visiting. Wink, wink.
Okay, so you really could do anything after that film, boy.
After that film, I was like, you know what? This was the best experience ever because it caused a lot of stress, but it was the best education. Yeah, best education ever.
That sort of leads to this question about, not just obstacles, but problems perhaps now. If you could magically solve two current problems, what would they be?
Relating to film or just problems in general?
However you want to answer that.
Two problems in general. Wow.
Or it could be film, whatever.
I would. Well, let's see. If it was two problems let's start with general sense. General sense is, I think with COVID-19, with this virus, it shows how connected we are.
Exactly.
Because this is a pandemic that the world is facing. So one problem I would fix is making people really realize how connected we are, and then, hey guys, let's try to make it a better world for everybody.
Exactly.
Because there's just too much greed. There's too much greed. That would be my second problem. Is I would get rid of the greed, the corporate greed. Let me explain what that is, because I know it's not relating to film, but film pales into comparison by what's happening to us today, which is it's an existential issue. Is this pandemic? But the governor of California, I'm in California at the moment, he asked major banks to help with, some people might not be able to pay their mortgage or be late in the rent. So the governor asked for leniency of up to 3 months, especially in mortgages for the big bank, like don't foreclose, your accounts. So the big bank said yes. Chase Bank was the first one to agree. Yes, we'll, publicly they say we're happy to support, the people, our clients. And then they turned around, they sold their mortgage accounts to a company in Utah. Awesome. See what I'm saying? So this is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So we had this stimulus package. I know it's a little political, but trillions of dollars were allocated. I have a small business in comparison to, a lot of the other ones that are getting money. And apparently I don't qualify.
Huh.
Right? It's an SBA thing. But all the big companies, right? All the big companies, all of them, all the Fortune 500 companies, all got money. They're executives that make millions of dollars, all got paid. But smaller people like me and people in the entertainment industry, not the studios, but the independent filmmakers, we have to go through different hoops.
Exactly.
So much so that the governor of California, again, I love this guy, Gavin Newsom. I think he was aware of the problem, so he says, you know what, we got to do some stimulus for the self-employed, because a lot of crew, a lot of cast and crew, actors, and all that fall into that category. So I think we're going to have a package as well for stimulus, because the SBA, Small Business Administration, basically said, hey, you don't qualify. I'm like, I don't do any nudity. I don't make porn.
Yeah. Well, they are doing something with freelancers.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The freelance crew and cast is that's California. That's Governor Newsom that's doing that.
Well, those are major issues. Let's hope we get through the COVID-19 and then hopefully.
Because it becomes a moot point. Like everything else doesn't matter until this gets resolved. So I apologize I wasn't able to give you any insight on entertainment.
No. You're exactly right. Until people can travel again, until people can work side by side, in the same room, at least in the same room, we sort of are still waiting.
Yeah. How was your binge watching, by the way?
I try to keep it to a minimum, but I'm tempted. There's so many good shows. It's the golden age, they say.
Oh, so let me mention this again. Binge watching. So, I have Spectrum cable. A couple of years ago, they made a huge mistake. Like what happened was they promised me double the speed, but gave me half because they didn't have double the speed at the time. They just wanted my account. So I called them on it, and they said, okay, we're going to give you 400 megabits for 4 years at $45, $44.95, something like that, tax inclusive. I just looked at my bill today, and it's $59.95, almost $60. So I'm like, what's up? They go, well, you're binge watching. I go, so, what happened to your deal? I said, this person told me blah, 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 $45 for 4 years. It's only been 2. Okay. They go, what are you going to do about it? Like, wow, seriously? This is what you get. What are you going to do about it? Awesome. This is like, gotta love the greed in America, man.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, well, let's look toward the future.
Okay.
What sort of future projects are you looking for? You mentioned you're more into movies and videos, but you're doing some TV.
We did a series. The Chinese title is in English, but whatever the Chinese translation is, River Sunset. I think we called it Sunset River in the beginning, but it's River Sunset. That one was all 8K. I think the Chinese cut is 46 episodes, and it was the first TV series shot in 8K ever.
Wow!
Ever, right? It's like we had a room just for the hard drives. Anyway, there's been so many problems with that because it's a World War II series, which World War II is very popular in China, make the Japanese look bad, and it shows how the Chinese, part of the story shows how the Chinese helped Doolittle. After Pearl Harbor, the Americans wanted to bomb Japan so badly, and China helped, because they knew they were running out of fuel. So they were, after bombing Japan, just fly towards China, and China would try to rescue whatever they can, whoever they could. I mean, as many pilots as they could. So anyway, historically, the bombing of Tokyo was successful, and China rescued 70% of all the pilots. The rest crash landed. They all crash landed because they ran out of fuel, but China was able to rescue a lot of them. And as a consequence, the Japanese massacred about 200,000 Chinese citizens in that area. This is not Nanjing. This is something else. This is like around a different part of China. I forgot. It's near Ningbo, Shenzhen. No, wait. It'll hit me again later. Sorry.
Okay.
But anyway, my point is, so before we were about to be released in China, the trade war happens.
Oh no.
So China was like, well, we don't want to release this now, because it shows we are helping the Americans.
Oh no.
We don't want to say, because they rescued American
Oh
pilots, which again,
no.
historically, that's really what happened in history, right?
Mm,
China was an ally.
right.
So it's been going back and forth, back and forth. So finally, uh, last, I think it was December, January, they said, okay, we're going to ease up the trade war. So the government says, okay, we can release this now. And then the virus happens.
Oh no. Oh no. Is there a release date? Oh, there's probably no
No,
release
there's
date.
no release date because we were actually talking to Netflix International. We started talks with them. We were going to do a separate. China had their own series. We were going to do a mini series for the Western audience, and everything got put on hold
Right. Right.
because of the virus. So yeah, it's tough.
Did you? Well, that was last year, and for next year, looking ahead, what might you want to do, film
Well,
wise?
everything is on hold. Everything is on hold. It's not just.
That's true.
If you look at, more than half the productions I've worked on are not American. So they're Bollywood. I've done Kazakhstan. I've done Syrian. I've done European, like Spanish, Mexican, whatever. So it's not just about China. Like
Right,
everything, there's a lot of stuff going on. Entertainment is or could be a universal language, but everything is on hold. So as far as me looking for stuff, it depends on the funding source. I think the most common for funding source is the easiest way is if you have bankable elements attached. And people go, well, what does that mean? It means bankable element is usually an actor or actress that, actors are like stock, right? So
Right.
say Brad Pitt is worth, say, $100, right? And then George Clooney is another $100. So if you have those two attached to your project, you have $200 in value.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you start pre-sales and getting, distributors or buyers to commit, and then you raise money. And to make a long story short, that's kind of one way. There's many ways to skin a cat, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
There's many ways, different ways to raise money, but that's the easiest way. So if you have, what I'm looking for is projects that have elements, bankable elements attached, primarily actors. What does that mean attached? That means you have to have some sort of contract with them that they will work with you. I'm assuming you would be a producer because,
Mm-hmm.
people that usually talk to me are producers
Mm-hmm.
as well, looking for, looking for help raising money. And then I go to different people. The most exciting thing right now for me is because China is a little iffy right now because of trade war, and because of Trump, for some reason, was really, really pissed off when he was elected in 2016. His son-in-law's family, the Kushners,
Mm-hmm.
they went to Beijing and they were promoting fast-track green card.
Yeah.
If you invest $500,000 in Trump properties in Florida, you can get fast-track for a green card.
Yep.
So a lot of people were lining up. But as you know, having lived in China, you can't just send money out of China. The government knows, right? Because they have to clear it. So a bunch of people lining up trying to get $500,000 out of the country. So China says, "What are you doing?" To the and they say, "Oh, we're buying Trump properties." So Beijing was like, "No, you can't do that. That's a conflict of interest. He's the president of the United States. We don't want we don't want that kind of relationship with America."
Mm.
So Beijing actually put a stop to all these transfers, and the Trump properties were not bought. So I guess, I'm not sure, but my logic tells me that Trump must have been pissed off. So he declared a trade war with China because Beijing didn't want to give him $500,000 each for all his Florida properties, and
Uh-huh.
so that's soon after the trade war started.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think, like I said, I'm not an expert. I just this is just news that
Yeah,
you can follow.
Yeah, anything is possible, and these days anything is believable. So I know where you're coming from. Now you've got a lot of contacts in China. Have they said? Well, I know this pandemic has stopped everything. Everything's on hold. But have they given you any indication of what the Chinese studios might be looking for as soon as they can start shooting again?
I can't really say Chinese studios in the same clumping like American studios because they're all very different.
Right.
Like for example, where we shot the TV series I was telling you about, River Sunset. I think we're gonna call it, the English title, we're gonna call it For Honor.
What are you going to call it?
Like, For Honor.
Oh, For Honor.
Yep, for country, for honor. So we're gonna call it For Honor once we do get released here. Ours would be a shorter, like maybe 8 episodes miniseries, because the main show is 46 episodes, but it's primarily for the Chinese market. I mean, anybody can watch it. I'm just saying, especially with American sensitivities, which we're not really patient to read subtitles because we can't really read.
Now, this For Honor, that's not the Doodles Heroes /
It is. We're not gonna call Doolittle's Heroes. That was a working title. We're gonna call it For Honor, the English release.
How many episodes? You said there's 8?
No, ours will be 8. The English cut, because we have, I produced basically the American shoot.
Mm-hmm.
We shot some footage in China too because, our pilots, crashed in China.
Hmm.
So we brought the pilots to China, the actors who were pilots, pilots who were actors actually, and we shot in China. So the studio we shot in there, they were apologizing to us because it's going to be really small.
Hmm.
So please, but this is historically accurate because this is where Doolittle's pilots crashed. So we get there and the studio is like 5 times bigger than Universal.
Wow.
So we're like, oh, I thought you said it was small. Well, yeah, compared to the other studio we have in China, this is tiny. But yeah. So what I was trying to say is they all have different policies. Like Wanda, Wanda is about the size of New York City, right? The studio they have. Because they're being punished for spending too much money. The government's gonna love me for talking like this, but anyway, the Chinese government. But they're being punished for spending too much money. So they built this big studio and they're giving a lot of rebates. Hey, shoot here, we'll give you some, we'll give you incentives, yada yada yada. And different studios have different policies, so it's kind of hard to say Chinese studios.
Right.
So it's easier to call it like Shanghai would be Shanghai, or Ningbo would be Ningbo, and Shangzhen, that's the smaller one that we shot in. There's 300,000 people that live in that sleepy fishing village, and they have 2 studios.
Wow.
The one we were shooting in, like I said, is 4 or 5 times bigger than Universal, probably closer to 5. It was gigantic, and then this is small. I'm like, okay.
Okay, well, let's look past the pandemic. Let's look past the coronavirus. Let's assume.
Well, let me give you. I didn't really answer that question yet.
Oh, okay.
China in general, is always looking.
Right, pandemic or no.
Yeah, they just don't know what they want.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Maybe that could be a good thing.
So a lot of times they're looking, they're interested, but it's challenging to close the deal. So what helps you? What helps you is if you understand who you're dealing with. Like I said, different studios have different policies. Depending on what you have, it may be easier to deal with one, not the other. You know what I'm saying? Everybody likes to deal with the big guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier to deal with the smaller guys. They may not have access to as much money or funds, but your line to deal with them is a lot shorter.
Mm.
So, yeah. And I think sales is good. One thing that kills Westerners is the hard sell.
Mm.
You know what I mean? These are Chinese. They're a little softer. So
they don't want the Western hard sell.
No, you can't do that in Asia. That just works here because here it's like we're all like snake oil sellers.
Salesmen.
So we make a lot of noise and but there it doesn't work like that. I mean, we're a country that's barely 250 years old, and you're dealing with the rest of the world like 5,000-6,000 years old as cultures, and so they're not going to change.
Exactly.
You've got to learn their way, not force our way. Anyway,
go ahead.
No, I was just trying to say that's what you need to be aware of.
if okay, let's hope for the best and hope that this pandemic finds some normalcy, a vaccine or treatment or whatever. Let's assume things get better at the end of this year or hopefully early next year. What are you trying to accomplish this year, or should I say early next year?
What's throwing me off is the time frame, because as you said, the virus or the pandemic will get resolved whenever it does, hopefully sooner than later. So, assuming things go back to normal, whenever that may be, hopefully everything goes back to normal as well, which means good projects are always great. My funding source in Europe is a great Belgian friend of mine. They do some pre-sales, which I was telling you. So there's elements attached. They can do the rest. They pre-fund the rebates. You got to shoot in Europe, so they pre-fund the rebates. They get money on pre-sales, and then if they're still short, they'll gap. So that's pretty exciting. The only thing is, like I said, you have to have elements attached.
Exactly.
You have to spend money to make money. You can't just start a business and not have anything. It's just like, I have a business, but there's nothing on my shelf. Who's going to buy? Nobody, right? So you got to spend something and get your pay or play, attach an actor or actress, put your 5-10% down, whatever it is your lawyer can negotiate, and then bring project, that to me. And then, because if they're attached, it's easy to say, hey, I have a project with Tom Cruise attached. This is an example, right? And I'm going to give you the rights for Japan for X amount. I'm going to sell you the rights for China for X amount. I can't do that if they're not attached.
Right.
Right. If there's no contract that's saying they're attached, then I'm selling snake oil.
Right.
So, and nobody's dumb anymore, and they know it's snake oil, so nobody's going to fund it because there's no commitment, there's no guarantee, there's no contract.
Yeah, it's sort of like the chicken and the egg. You can't get the star without the funding, and you can't get the funding without the star.
I didn't go. A lot of people say, "Oh, you went to NYU, you went to acting." No, I didn't. I went to Stern. I didn't go to Tisch. There's capital is the most important thing in business. So the main problem in business is you don't have capital. You don't have enough capital.
Right.
So so what does that mean? That means if you want to do business, because film entertainment is not is a business. It's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Projects that lose money are the ones that don't approach it as a business. What does that mean? Business is, you have to know who your audience is, who your project is targeted to, like who's going to buy this if you make a product, right? Some people are like, oh no, it's just it's my passion. Well, maybe your passion will sell, maybe it won't. 99% of the time, it won't.
Right.
This is why they say, oh, most films lose money. Yeah, because a lot of people don't think about what the audience is, like who's going to buy this. They don't think about that, sadly.
Exactly. So that's why you need that business/marketing management background.
You just need to have common sense. So like I said, if you're trying to do a business, a lot of people, I have this project, I don't have any money, I have nobody attached. Well, good luck to you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Why? And then they get upset when I tell them that. So I tell them, a lot of people there, right, have money to invest in films, right? But they want something that's a little, that has something to invest in, like an actor attached, even a director attached, something, like the script has won awards, anything to put it above, the others.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you don't have any money, why would they spend their own money for you? They'll spend their money for themselves, and they don't get that.
And you're up against 1,000 or 10,000 other scripts, so you have to stand out in a crowd.
Well, you just have to treat your dream, because I'm assuming nobody in his right mind, unless you slip, hit your head in the shower, like, oh, I'm going to do film in my career. No, nobody really does that, I think, or maybe some people do. But you have to be pretty ballsy, for lack of a better term, brave, to try to make film a career, because it's hard, right? It's
exactly.
You go to film school, but you don't really learn anything. No offense to all those people, but you learn a lot of theory, technique, but you don't really learn real life. Like, I mentor a lot, right? Because I was lucky growing up in the film industry. I had good mentors. And they were like, you should always give back. Sure. Okay, fine. So, I mentor and they come out, they graduate from film school and they're smart, but they don't really know, what do I do now? How does this work? How does that work? Like how the actual nuts and bolts of the business works. So like I said, because they can't teach that anywhere. It's just something you have to learn, right? Because it's always changing too.
Yeah. It's show business, underlying business.
Business. Thank you.
Yeah. Now here's a trick question. What question did I not ask you that I should have?
I don't know. I say I don't know because I've been doing this for over 30 years. So I don't really have that many questions at my career because it's like, oh, this is how that works. This is how that works. I kind of was fortunate enough, like I said, ever since I got initiated, where all kinds of problems came my way, it basically taught me how to think and how to learn, about think ahead of contingencies and what to do in case, something goes left or right, up or down. I usually have a plan for that. So as far as what questions to ask, I'm not sure what questions to ask because I would have, okay, let me just answer.
Well, what question did I not ask you?
Well, I'll just give you some, let's assume you ask me a question. This is the answer. The first and most important thing is you have to enjoy what you're doing because that'll keep you coming back.
Yes.
So you go to a pitch meeting and, that's a good thing too. You have to practice. Mm-hmm. It's like anything, like, athletes practice. I once, I wanted to learn how to pitch. So I took a meeting. I'm not going to mention his name because he's a big exec now at Warner Brothers and I'm sure he's still upset at me. So I pitched the project that I didn't have. I just wanted, they say you pitch, you're going to be rejected 9 times out of 10, right? So I pitched the project. I didn't have the rights to. I just wanted to pitch. I had the Bible. Bible is like the book.
The lookbook.
It's not a book. It's not a Bible. I had the episodes. Yeah, the lookbook, the episodes. I had the pilot script. Then I had log lines for each episode. So I pitched it to him and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, shit, I've been here for 15 minutes. I'm still sitting here. And then at the end of the meeting, he reaches out, gives me his lawyer's card. This is our lawyer. Okay, we'll buy 1 season.
Wow.
Congratulations. I like the idea.
Wow.
So I was like, I hung my head and I'm like, I'm never going to be able to come back here. So yeah, you practice. But in this case, it's better if you actually have something to sell. I just, I went in there anticipating that I was going to be shot down because everybody was saying, hey, they're gonna shoot you down. You're lucky if you're going to be there for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Because I have done pitches for movies that we didn't last for 5 minutes. So I kind of, TV's probably the same, but no, it was not the case. So I want to thank that executive. He's an awesome guy. He's a senior VP of production at Warner Brothers these days, and he's awesome. I can't say his name because they'll know. Oh, you!
Yeah.
You left me hanging there. I thought I had
It's Noel again.
Oh, you did? Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's a good story.
Anyway.
Okay, here's one. What advice can you give those aspiring to tap into the Chinese market?
Forget you're an American.
Okay, good.
Because you can't, like I said, you cannot tell somebody whose cultural identity is 5,000-6,000 years old to see how you think when you don't even, your identity is not there yet. So I think it's better learn how they think, and then you can communicate on their level, and then you look more, their guard is down. Because like I said, they're looking too. It's changing. Before, like 10 years ago, for example, there was a lot of money, there's they're just throwing money on everything. They're still doing that, but it's guarded now because so many people, they got burned a lot, because they didn't know. China is a wonderful place right now, watching it grow. Okay, you have to understand. I was there when Pizza Hut was asking us if we could help them consult, right? Because they were trying to open, and we were like, Chinese don't like cheese.
Right.
So you're gonna have to. This is why we're, the menus were different, but because little by little you got to train them. They're just now, okay, coffee is new, right? Relatively new. Wine is relatively new. There are new things in China. That's what I'm saying. It's exciting, to see all that change, all that opening, because they were basically closed, under Mao Zedong. But then Deng Xiaoping was awesome, and he wanted to open everything. So this is what I'm saying. So learn to go with the flow, see what they think, learn their sensitivity, and don't give up. Be a friend first. This is very important. This is very, very important. Here, it's like, what's your name? There, what's your family name?
Right.
See what I mean? So the initial conversations with Chinese, you're usually, you want to talk about you, them. They want to see if you can be friends, because if you can get along, then you can do business.
Exactly.
Americans are a little different. Oh, let's do business. Doesn't matter who we are. It's about the business. It doesn't work like that. Again, because we think short term, they think long term.
Exactly. Yeah, good point.
Hopefully that's helpful.
Very, very helpful. Now, in conclusion, would you like to share any social media details so our audience can keep track of your work?
There's a side, because I need to be working on our website. It's a little dated, but it's amgfilmsusa.com. And then I'm on WeChat. If you want to deal with China, you got to get on WeChat or Line. But WeChat's Noel Vega.
Okay, I'll put those in the show notes. Well, great, Noel. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the China Hollywood podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me, and good luck out there. Stay safe.
Stay safe, and we'll see you at the premiere.
Hey, looking forward to it. All right, be well. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
I've got 3 key points and 3 takeaways. Key points. Number 1, have a plan B, C, D, all the way to Z. Noel's funny story about his work on the film Once Upon a Time in America proves everything that could go wrong did go wrong, including his prop guy that got arrested for bank robbery. I like to hope for the best and plan for the worst, and so always have a contingency plan. And if you're lucky, you'll feel like Noel afterwards, that after dealing with a disaster and making it through to the end, you'll feel you can do anything. Number 2, the little guy. Noel believes it's easier to deal with the smaller companies. They may not have access to as much money or funds, but your line to working with them is a lot shorter. Number 3, avoid the hard sell. Americans tend to want to get down to business quickly. That doesn't work in China. Get to know your counterparts. This is something so basic but needs to be repeated. And now for takeaways. Number 1, attaching elements. Now that's no easy feat. How do you get a star without funding? How do you get funding without a star? A, it all starts with the script, so it's got to be great. B, if a star is typecast and might want a change, write something that is different from their normal roles. Listen, read previous interviews where stars talk about future plans or who they'd like to work with and weave that in. C, if a star has their own production company, and many do, offer them the chance to produce it. Number 2, take advantage of rebates. Noel mentioned a producer friend in Belgium who could raise money by pre-funding rebates and doing pre-sales based on who is attached to the script. So look for states or countries that offer rebates. On top of rebates, you might also consider shooting your film as a co-production. Co-productions offer collective financing, wider distribution, and avoids strict import quotas. According to America's Motion Picture Association, China has co-pro treaties with Canada, Italy, Australia, France, Singapore, Belgium, Britain, South Korea, India, and Spain. Number 3, if you do this for a while, you've got to understand you need to be in it for the long haul. You have to enjoy the process. As Noel says, enjoy what you're doing. For example, everybody says they want to write a script, but do they? No. You have to enjoy the process and either every day write those pages or make those calls or whatever your goal requires. Small steps add up. But do it because you enjoy it, not because you think you're going to get rich and famous. That won't sustain you. Well, that's the show. Thank you for listening. To show your support, please go to iTunes, subscribe, and leave a rating so other people can find this podcast. And writers, remember to go to ChinaHollywoodGreenlight.com and sign up by May 15th, 2020 to get in our free membership promotion. Producers and talent agents sign up to find material before anyone else does. And remember, we launched June 1st. And I'll see you at the premiere. 一会儿见.